Hi, everybody. Lovely to see everybody this morning. We are going to start the session in a minute with, we're delighted to have with us this morning, Amy Peary from Laithwaites Wine and Direct Wines. And we're going to be talking this morning about best places to work. And Laithwaites have been on the list for best places to work for quite a few years now, but also best places to work have launched another few sub-lists, of which Laithwaites and Direct Wines have appeared on a couple of those. One of those is best places for women to work. And so we're going to have a look at that today with Amy. But just a couple of things from me before we start. So Circle to Success, we're really, really thrilled and very excited to be launching our C2S Business Awards, which will be held in June, 21st of June at Manor by the Lake. We've got 12 categories, and a lot of them are very relevant to the conversations we're having today. So if you haven't seen it in the C2S magazine, they are listed in there, and we'll be sending out the link tomorrow when it goes live. But we've got Sustainability Award, Training and Talent Award, got Culture and Diversity Award, Community Growth, Employee of the Year, Employer of the Year, and Change Management. So lots of opportunities for individuals and organisations to get involved with those. So we're really excited about having those this year. So we'll send the link out, opportunities to sponsor and get involved with those, as well as promote your organisation and individuals within your organisation. And also on the 8th of March, we have International Women's Day. So we've been running International Women's Day event for the last 4 or 5 years. And this year we're at St Edward's School. So last year we were at Cheltenham Ladies College, and now we're delighted to be at St Edward's. So please do have a look. We'll send the link round. So that's the 8th of March at St Edward's. We've got some great speakers lined up, and it's always a really uplifting event, very positive. So a really good one to come along to. So this morning we're delighted to have Amy with us from Direct Wines and Laithwaites. And Amy's going to just talk a little bit around the journey that they've gone on and what they're going to be doing next. So always learning, always developing, and seeing what they're doing. So we've got a couple of questions that we'll share with you at the end, or discussion points. So when we finish, we'll go back onto the tables. There'll be an opportunity to just catch up around the tables, introduce yourselves. Amy will hop around the different tables, so she'll have an opportunity to talk to you. So if there are questions that you want following on from the presentation, please do put them in the chat. But also Amy will try her very best to get around the tables and have a chat with you on your tables around some of the things that you're doing and some of the things that they're doing at Laithwaites and Direct Lines. So please do put something in the chat if you want to have a question brought up, but also bear in mind that you'll have that opportunity just to talk in smaller groups with Amy as well. We have one quick question to ask you before Amy starts. So I'm just going to launch a quick poll. So if you can have a look at that and just answer the question, it's just yes or no. So who is already conducting employee engagement polls? So if you, hopefully that's gone on. So if you have the opportunity, please just see if you're already doing that already. Just gives us an idea of what people are doing at the moment. So we'll just see what that looks like very quickly, and then we'll close the poll. There's an opportunity, so we'll do that in a minute. So there's quite a few people already doing them, so that's really good to hear. So we'll close the poll. This gives us an idea. So we've got 3/4 of the people already doing polls, Amy. So that's quite good to hear about what they're doing. So I'm now going to hand over to Amy, who's going to take us through a presentation, and then we'll have an opportunity to talk about some of the things that you're doing in your organisations, and follow up with some of the things that Amy is doing. Over to you, Amy.
Great, thank you. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining me. As Suzanne said, I'm Amy Peary. I'm the Senior HR Business Partner at Laithwaites, and I'm just going to be taking you through a few slides on our journey to becoming a best workplace for women, but generally a best workplace for all as well. And all the initiatives that we do try to ensure that they're meeting everybody's needs. So I'll be focusing today a little bit on women, but a few of the initiatives will be for everyone. So I'm just going to launch my slides, so bear with me. Hopefully everyone can see those. So to start, I thought it'd be useful to give you a bit of an introduction into Direct Wines and Laithwaites, just for a bit of context. So Direct Wines is our umbrella company, and we operate globally. And Laithwaites is our UK customer brand. One of our goals is to make Laithwaites brand famous. So when we're doing best workplaces in the UK, we do it under the Laithwaites brand. It's a family-owned business. It started with Tony Laithwaite in 1969. He was a man with a van. It was called Bordeaux Direct then. So he would travel over to Bordeaux, pick up wine, bring it back to the UK and sell it from an archway in Windsor. So he's very much still involved in the business, as is the rest of the family. His wife, Barbara Laithwaite, was the businesswoman who everyone says is behind the business making its first million. So we're very lucky to have a female figurehead in the business. The sons are now starting to take over and they sit on the board. And then it's been, from a global perspective, it operates in Australia and the UK and America. And we also have offices in India. And we have a really diverse business makeup. So from head office in the UK to warehouse to customer services to outbound. And that's our sales team. So that gives you a bit of an idea about Direct Wines and Laithwaites. And then in terms of why we decided to do Great Place to Work, it was really from a point of view of, we had a great history and a great culture and great people. The family really have driven that history and culture. They feel very strongly about it being a family orientated business. They feel very passionate about the product and they feel very passionate about it being a fun place to work. And they've got a really strong set of values that they ensure all of the CEOs and MDs that have worked for the business follow. So we're very lucky to have that history. We're also, we've got great people. The people who work here have worked we're regularly hitting milestones of people having 5, 10, 15 years service, all the way up to 35 years service. So from that point of view, we had a really good starting point. We also run annual engagement surveys. Before we did Great Place to Work, it was via SurveyMonkey. But those results were demonstrating regularly that we were getting high results and that people really enjoyed working for us. So we had a really good foundation. And then following that, we had a new group CEO start in 2020. And he came in and he really loved our culture. And he really valued some of our beliefs and values. But one of the things that he found was that he wanted to put some clarity around our missions and our values and our strategy. And that's what he did. And he came in and did that for us. And he also was from Diageo and they've run Great Place to Work previously. So he was also very understanding of Great Place to Work and what it could offer. We have a term in the business called doing things beautifully. And that was actually coined by Barbara. And it's really about doing the right thing always. So what he wanted to do was take that and really make people understand and to be able to communicate in writing what that meant. So we did a lot of work. He developed a new strategy involving people from the bottom up, making sure that there was lots of contribution towards that. He outlined our new vision, mission and purpose. We introduced leadership standards that we wanted people to follow. So he put a lot of work in place to ensure, along with a team of people, obviously, to make sure that we had everything in place that we needed. And from doing that, we felt like we were in a really good position to go to Great Place to Work and see whether or not we could get Great Place to Work accreditation. And following that, best workplaces, and see if we could get onto the best workplaces lists. So what is Great Place to Work? Great Place to Work is a global authority on workplace culture. It recognises organisations that are doing right, and it also helps them continually improve through employee survey, certification and the best workplaces list. They also provide feedback, so we'll come on to that in a second. So what's involved with Great Place to Work? So it starts with us having to ask our employees to complete a survey. If anyone is thinking of doing Great Place to Work, I should warn now, the survey is quite lengthy. It's the questions that we ask our employers are 70 questions. And we also have to complete a culture audit. So the audit asks us a series of questions, really digging into what we have in place that makes it a great workplace, that supports the survey results. From there, we find out whether or not we get certified. Obviously, we've been lucky enough to be certified as Great Place to Work. And we also find out whether or not we make it onto the best workplace lists. The lists that we made onto last year were best workplaces for large organisation, best workplaces for women, and best workplace for wellbeing. So we were really pleased with that result. We also get audit feedback. So following the submission of the culture audit, they will review that, and then they come back to us with the feedback, and they will inform us which things we're doing really stand out and make us stand out from the crowd, what's in line with other best workplaces. And they also provide advice on what else we could be doing. We also get there's a technology platform for Great Place to Work, which gives us all of our results. And it's a really useful tool because you can really dig down into the survey. And so it gives us something that we've never had before, because we can analyze our results by demographic, by departments, by questions, by focus areas. They group the questions into things like focus areas like communication, collaboration. So we can really see where we're excelling and where we need to put a bit more focus into it. And then from there, obviously, we create action plans, and the importance is action. And it goes full cycle because it's an annual audit. So we action plan and action throughout the rest of the year, and then we go back into the survey. In terms of why we think we're a best workplace for women, reviewing the audits and everything that we've put in place, we really do have a number of policies that support women. We have an enhanced maternity policy. That was really something that was driven by Barbara Laithwaite herself. She was very keen that women who were going off on maternity leave would receive enhanced pay. We have a hybrid working policy and flexible working policy. Both of those things go really far to help women balance their responsibilities outside of work, whether or not that be caring responsibilities, being a parent, whatever it might be. It gives them the flexibility there. And people are really enjoying hybrid working as offering that level of flexibility. But it goes beyond just where you work. It also goes into what hours you work. So I think the one thing that we found from being able to offer working from home is that people can adapt their hours a little bit more flexibly. And in roles where that's not possible because they're working in retail or customer services and they're on shift patterns, there's still the option of them requesting certain hours to fit around that. So we definitely have a couple of policies there. The other thing that I think we do really well at the moment is around menopause. So I'm not sure if you know, but 3 in 5 women are negatively affected at work if they're suffering perimenopause or menopausal symptoms. And in fact, a recent survey showed that 900,000 women had left their jobs for a stretch of time due to symptoms. And that demographic is somewhere between 45 to 55. And that is at the peak of their work experience. So you're losing really highly qualified, highly experienced women because they don't have the right support mechanisms in place in the workplace. So we've introduced a menopause policy, and that really is just about really clearly defining what support is available for women in the workplace. We've also done Menopause Awareness Day, and we've done line manager briefings on the menopause, and it forms part of our management training. So really advocating the level of support that they can get, the flexibility they can have, the occupational health support that we can put in place for them, and so forth. So that's the menopause policy that we have. And then we also have our shared parental leave policy, parental leave, and it really is something that's maximised here. It's not a policy that just sits there and people don't use it. They really do. And we also offer paid time off for people who have miscarriages and education around baby loss as well. So they're all the things we have in the policies that we have in place. We also celebrate women. So International Women's Day, we turn into International Women's Week. We, in our last International Women's Week, we had Barbara and Philippa, who's our UK CEO, both do a live interview, talking about their experience of being a successful woman in the workplace and any barriers that they've had. And that was really insightful and useful. And I think if you can have people, senior females, stand up and talk about their experiences, it's really encouraging for other women in the workplace. We have lots of trust and flexibility. So we've talked about it already, talking about hybrid working, but the trust and flexibility for women to flex their hours and trust that they will do what they need to do to get the job done. We're also about equity and fairness. So, we have a lot of policies in place that support women because that makes it more equitable. We also have lots of policies in place that support other demographics. So really balancing that equity and fairness across the business. As I mentioned previously, female leaderships, that's a picture of Philippa, our UK CEO. We've got 33% of our leadership team is female. Obviously, we'd love that number to be higher, but it's a great starting point. And for us, it means that they're able to mentor heads of and other talented females in the business. And then we've got awareness and education. I've talked about it briefly from a menopause perspective. We also did baby loss awareness. And during that, we actually had a lady within the business that had experienced baby loss, educating people on how to support anyone going through that. So some really useful and insightful and emotional topics that we explore and ask colleagues to contribute to. And actually, similarly, from a menopause perspective, on our Menopause Awareness Day, we had a lady in the business who was going through it and discussing all of the support that had been offered to her, so that people know they can talk about it and that they can get support, and that that's not just something that's on paper and it is actually actionable. So that's why I think we're a best workplace for women, or to name but a few. In terms of what makes us stand out, I think the things I'm about to talk about are not at all limited to women. It really is about being a best workplace for all. So we offer Nudge, which is a financial education tool, and people can set preferences on that. So absolutely, it can be tailored towards a woman if in things that are likely to more impact a woman from a financial perspective, but it is available to all of our employees. We offer learning and development. So, but beyond the things that you might expect, we've introduced a leader as coach training session, which is all about teaching our leadership and management about coaching habits, so that coaching is part of our culture. We've got hybrid working, which I've already talked about. We also did something called speed networking. So I liken it to speed dating, but without the romantic element. And it's essentially that you get to go around and have 5 minutes talking to a colleague that you might not have spoken to before. And you move around in total across the hour about 10 different employees. We did that alongside a wine tasting. Obviously, we're lucky that we're a wine business and that's something that we can do. But people did really enjoy it. They really enjoyed getting to talk to people that they might not usually have spoken to. And particularly following remote working for such a long period of time during COVID, it was lots of people had started at the business that you wouldn't have necessarily met. So it was a great opportunity and something that we're planning to continue as being a regular event. I talked about doing things beautifully earlier. That is something that's really key to everything that we do. And like I say, it is really about doing the right thing always, even when people aren't looking. This is one of my favorites, Munch Don't Burn. So this was an initiative that we started, which is essentially a company cook-along. And interestingly, this is something that from our culture audit was suggested, but we were already doing. And what we did was we paired up people throughout the business to lead a cook-along session. So everyone was given a list of ingredients at the start of the week. And then on a Friday afternoon at lunchtime, everyone logged on to Teams and you could cook along from home following the chef. And it was done with a wine tasting as well. So you had a wine to pair with the recipe of the week. And we also extended that to My Grateful session, which was with a Syrian refugee who introduced a Syrian dish to us, which was a really, I can't overemphasize how much fun that is. And if it's not something that your companies currently do, I really would recommend doing it. We're hoping to do more throughout this year. We also celebrate our cultural events. So Emma, who's on the call today, actually, she has introduced an Embrace group, which is for our ethnic minority colleagues to come together and discuss. It's an employee resource group. And as part of that, what they did was they celebrated Black History Month, and we got to hear from 3 of our Black colleagues about their experience of growing up Black in Britain. So it was really interesting, really insightful, and really opens up the conversation. And we're hoping to introduce more ERGs throughout this year. The next one we're hoping to introduce will be an LGBTQ plus one. We offer wellbeing webinars beyond what people might expect. We've done ones on meditation, on sleep, money masterclasses. One of my favourites that we did was one of our directors who's experienced mental health issues in the past, talked about mental health and the support that he'd received within the business. A really powerful session that really opened up the conversation around mental health and removing it as a taboo topic that some people think that it is, and it's not. We do wine tastings in the business. So this particular picture is from Christmas, where Barbara Laithwaites stood up and did a wine tasting and a bit of information on one of her wines. And we've also got the Tony Awards. So they're an award recognition element that we have. Actually, in our latest Tony Awards are due to be announced tomorrow, but the last time 3 out of 4 of our winners were female. And those Tony Awards are celebrating some of our key values. So from a great place to work perspective, the fundamentals are my learnings from doing Great Place to Work. And if you're interested in doing Great Place to Work, something I would definitely consider before jumping into it is you really need to be doing all of these things in order to be able to get Great Place to Work accreditation, and certainly to make Best Workplaces list. It really is around making sure that all of the benefits that you're offering and all of the initiatives that you're doing are equitable. I think it's also about making sure that they're going beyond expectations. So making sure that they stand out from the crowd and you're not just doing what people would expect. A large part of it is innovation. So really, how are you driving innovation across your business? And that can't be just one team or one person or expecting it to come from leadership. You really need to be able to demonstrate that you're doing that from across the whole business, and that you're allowing all employees to be innovative, and that you're hearing all voices. Some of the things that we've done to get that in place is we've introduced a innovation newsletter highlighting innovative things that other companies are doing, innovation that's currently ongoing in the business, and also offering ways in which you can put forward ideas. The other part of it, and I think this is obvious but sometimes missed, is getting the basics right. So really ensuring that you're doing all the basics and not all the fancy stuff. So, making sure that all of your processes run smoothly and accurately, that you're paying people on time, that management are actually giving their employees the time that they deserve, that they're having one-to-ones, that performance conversations are happening, that talent is being supported. All of these things you really need to be getting those fundamental basics right in order to be able to then start doing the rest of it. And then finally, the other thing that I think was really powerful and why we did it at the right time and when we did, is that all of this needs to have the proper foundations in place of a very strong vision and mission and strategy. And then from that then defines your goals and your plans and your action. So some of that might seem obvious, but it's definitely what they seem to drill down into from the culture audit perspective. Sorry, my slides have stopped working. So from what next? We, like Suzanne said at the beginning, we are definitely not being complacent at this stage. It's brilliant that we've been certified. It's brilliant that we're in the best workplaces list. But, it's a really difficult time out there at the moment. The macro environment is getting harder and harder. So from an employee perspective, that's obviously impacting their mental health, their overall well-being, and their general feelings of positivity. And so we really do need to be working hard to ensure that we stay in those categories and that we're doing everything that we can to support them during this time. But beyond that, what next? We want to look at other employee resource groups, as I mentioned before. We also want to broaden our candidate pool with an inclusion and diversity initiatives. One of the things that I read was on a webinar about recently is that how women apply for jobs is very different to how men apply to jobs. Women are much more likely to read through a job description, and if they're unable to do even a small element of it, they won't apply, whereas men are much more likely to go a bit more gung-ho and give it a go. So that's one of the things that we want to look at, and ensuring our job descriptions are really accurate and that what we're asking for is actually essential. There's also things called male and female coded words. So that's a big piece of work that we'd like to do next to ensure that we're really broadening our candidate pool. So we're also looking at our health and wellness initiatives and ensuring that they're equitable for all. One of the things I touched on at the very beginning is that we've got a really diverse employee base. And because of that, not all of our initiatives are accessible for all. So we really have to work hard. For example, our warehouse don't have regular access to computers. When we're running online webinars, we really have to think about, well, what can we do differently for them? So if you're introducing initiatives into your workplace, really think about, does that work for all employees, or do we need to adapt it, or should we be doing something different for them? And that's something that we're working hard on here. We also are running focus groups, and that will continue. So in the areas of the business where the results weren't as strong as the average, we're really drilling down into those areas and understanding what more we can be doing. And keeping it fun. I mean, one of the things that came out of our last audit is that now we're coming out of, post-COVID world, really reintroducing all of the face-to-face social activities that keep it a fun place to work. So that's what next for us, just to name but a few. So from Suzanne mentioned earlier, when you're in your tables, it would be really useful to talk about what does your company currently do that makes it a great place for women? And then what would you like to see happening in your company that's not currently, that you think would make it a better place for work for women? I mean, I'd be really interested to hear your thoughts on this, because like I say, we're always looking to do more, and I'm always looking for new ideas. So that's everything from me. Thanks for listening. I'll stop sharing my slides now.
That's great. Thank you very much, Amy. That was lovely. A really good overview and some really good ideas there for people to take away. I'm conscious because there's lots I could ask you and talk about. And I was kind of just reflecting on the news this morning about the menopause study that and recommendations that the government rejected, most of them this morning. So in terms of making menopause a protected characteristic and other areas. So they've gone a little way in doing some things, but they've not gone all the way with some of the recommendations. So it's interesting to see how that will pan out. But thank you very much. I am conscious, actually, probably people would value having the conversation with you round the tables particularly. So what I'm going to do, if that's all right, I'm going to bring us all back to the tables. So Amy, pose those couple of areas of discussion. What are you doing at the moment, and what perhaps would you like to see, or what ideas have you had of making either a great place to work or a great place for women to work? And Amy will hop around the different tables, so you have an opportunity to talk to her and glean a bit more about what Laithwaites and Direct Wines are doing as well. So thank you very much, Amy. That was really interesting. Lots of great content there to have a think about. So that's all right. I'm going to pause the session, bring everybody back to the tables. Remember, if you've had a little time on the table that you were already on, if you just double click, you can move around and join another table. So please try and we'll give you a few minutes to talk about the first question, and then maybe we'll move people around again for the second focus as well, so you get an opportunity to talk to some different people. So remember, double click to move around the different tables. So we'll join you on the table, and Amy will move around the tables and talk to you there. I'm just conscious of the time, and I don't like to break into all the really good conversations. Popped onto a few tables, and hopefully Amy is able to get round and see all of you. Just formally to finish the session at 11 o'clock, to thank Amy Peary from Laithwaites and Direct Wines. Thank you so much. Conversations around the table, really stimulating around the presentation that you gave. So huge thanks to Amy for joining us today. And please do stay on. Please do have a look at our business awards. We'll be sending some information out tomorrow. Lots of good conversations around the table. So those awards for the people on the session today, there'll be lots of opportunities to raise the profile of your business and individuals within your company. And don't forget, International Women's Day, always a lovely event, always very, as I said, very uplifting to hear the stories on there. So we have Gemma Evans from Superdry, we have Natalie and Nicola Bell from Axel, and we're just finalising one of the last speakers for St Edwards. So please do join us, and please do stay on, carry on with the conversations, and we will see you soon. Thank you.